right now things are not terrible for a non-believer. Okay, we got a shout out during the inauguration. That was amazing. That has to be a political first. I mean, one of the biggest things in politics is establishing your religious street cred. But the fact is, just by Obama saying, including non-believers in his speech, I felt something that I've never felt before in my life. And I've had people come up to me and say, oh, you wrote this thing, and I was able to come out, and it's meant a huge amount to me that people say these things to me, but I never, until that moment, I was like, oh, that's what that feels like. I matter, I'm a person. They counted me then, the last people I expected to, politicians. And there's also a lot of, bestsellers like God is Not Great and The God Delusion people are making the case that, a very cogent case that maybe we have things a little bit mixed up in the general belief system. But I find those books to be, they're old news for me. If they're making other people think in a new way, that's exciting. But for me, the important thing is not that we're right. The important thing is, where do we go from here? If we actually want to have a foothold in American or world society, how do we codify our moral structure without the sky bully looking down on us, telling us what we're supposed to do? And I'm here to tell you I don't really have the answer. I have a lot of really good ideas for other stuff. I think we should have more popes. I just think there hasn't been a good schism in a while, so maybe you get 3 different guys saying they've got God's ear. I think that's going to make a difference. Or town popes, or maybe a Fox show. So you want to be pope? So you think you can pope? Just that, maybe. Also, move the Holy Land to Jamaica. Because, first of all, if I was going to pick a land, okay, I wouldn't pick a desert. It's Jamaica. And second of all, who's going to fight? Just be like, I was supposed to bomb somebody. I totally forgot. I'm just saying, end of conflict. It would just solve everything. See, a lot of good ideas, but ultimately, they're short term. They're not lasting. I think that basically there is really only one answer, and it is education, education, education. This is the greatest invention, and it is something that we as Americans have an enormous amount of. We have an enormous amount of affluence compared to the rest of the world, and so we have the opportunity for every person here to be truly educated. That does not mean that every person will become secular or humanist or a non-believer. It does mean, however, that more people will stop lining up like lemmings when they see a Republican scare ad, or when Jerry Falwell tells them he's going to be taken up, or they got to give money, or whatever it is. The best in us will still exist even if we break down the systems that so many of us fight so hard to preserve. And the only way to break down systems truly, without violence and without chaos and without all the things that people think of non-believers as espousing, is education. It is categorically the one thing that we must bring to our neighborhoods, our people, our families, our world, other countries, not our beliefs. Education, free thinking. This is the thing that must be found. If we can push ourselves forward just a little bit in that respect, everything else falls into place. Because ultimately, and this is probably the only thing I should have said in the first place, the enemy of humanism is not faith. The enemy of humanism is hate, is fear, is ignorance, is the darker part of man that is in every humanist, every person in the world. That is the thing we have to fight. Faith is something we have to embrace. Faith in God means believing absolutely in something with no proof whatsoever. Faith in humanity means believing absolutely in something with a huge amount of proof to the contrary. We are the true believers.